Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories, but today we're actually taking a different path. Today, we are going to talk about how you should go about making a D&D campaign. And as always, if you have tips for any new hopefuls, please leave it down in the comments below. I would suggest starting in an area which you excel. Doing the things that you enjoy the most will help you build a foundation for the entire campaign. Don't go crazy with details at this point, because you will need to make changes as things grow. If you are a character builder, start with building a series of NPCs. Think about big bads and tavern owners. Think about that wandering bard and helpful hermit. Build their stories and outline how their lives fit together. If you're an amateur cartographer, start with making a map. When you finish your castle map, put it on the edge of a village, and then put that village on the coast of a continent. As you are building your maps or developing your characters, think about the stories that live inside these castle walls and in the minds of the villagers. You want to have a common story throughout the campaign, even if it's as simple as defeating the evil monster living in the dense jungle of the island. Don't be afraid to steal ideas from other mediums. I'm not suggesting building Castle Eagleloft and defeating Strom von Zorhovic, but think about books or movies. I built a campaign based off of a Scooby-Doo episode. Ooh, that sounds cool. Once you have a loose story and some solid building blocks, you can start filling in the gaps. I would suggest leaving a few gaps, of course. No matter how much you plan and design, the characters are going to find another way. That's the difference between writing a story and building a campaign. In the story, you control everything. In the campaign, however, you don't even control the main characters. You are not building a campaign guide that is going to be published. You are building a structure that you can build on as you go. After filling in the gaps, start collecting random ideas in a toy box for when the characters venture from the path. And they will venture off the path. Have entire rooms that the characters can stumble upon when their wild shape calls a fireball centered on the party and puts a hole in the wall. Have a collection of random encounters at the ready. Not just a wandering monster, but perhaps a traveling circus full of challenges, or a group of wizards who put the entire party to sleep and hide all their equipment. Wandering through a tunnel for hours is boring. Before the players start to get bored, pull out the toy box and liven things up. You can have encounters that are unrelated to your story. Or are they? We spend our real-world lives following paths. When we are in a world where our actions cannot harm us, we are going to wander off the path. When the characters get too far off the path, though, reach into the toy box and pull out that wandering bard to nudge them back in the right direction. It does not have to be a bard with a map. Perhaps it is a girl in the woods they never catch, but end up chasing back onto the path. If the players are having fun, well, just roll with it. If you get to the point that you are completely off the rails, don't hesitate to just give up. So the mystery did not get solved. If the players are laughing so hard that they are crying, but they have gotten so hopelessly off course that it is irrecoverable, please tell the group that they messed up so bad that they broke the game. They will be proud of their accomplishment, and you can try again next time. Alright, here's how I do it. I come up with a theme. Often this is a deep question, like order versus chaos, justice versus mercy, or how does civilization start and grow? Sometimes it's just a cool mental image like Mayans riding dinosaurs, rawr. A good theme is my pole star. It sets the tone for the campaign, and while I rarely tell the players what the theme is, it gives me an idea of what the elevator pitch for the campaign needs to sound like. Also, when the players do something I didn't expect, I need to make a snap judgment. I look to my theme to help me decide. After all, a game whose theme is life is cheap and the world is cruel looks very different from one based on friendship is magic. I come up with an antagonist who has a problem. There is someone in this world who wants something so badly, they're willing to do almost anything, or maybe literally anything, to get it. This is the big bad of the whole campaign. Sometimes the desire comes first, and then the villain. And sometimes the villain comes first, and then the desire. Either way, I need both before. I create world that's gonna be mightily upheaved before the antagonist gets what they want. I generally make orderly worlds that the antagonist and the PCs will disrupt by their actions. But what I've found works best is powder kegs ready to explode when someone, like the players, pokes at them too vigorously. Now when I say world, I'm not being literal, I'm not going into much detail. I generally do a 30,000-foot view of an area that the PCs can travel across in a month. Something around 700 square miles, not quite 3 times the size of Texas or France. I mark out the big terrain features, the big cities, and the big political powers, but I don't go into much detail. I dive deep and create the starting location. This is a small place with small problems being exasperated by the antagonist's agents. I make sure it's got at least one temple where the PCs can get healing, a sage or wise one they can buy good answers from, and a tavern where they can get all the bad advice they want for the price of an ale. I also make sure they can buy most, but not all, of the gear they're going to want. I make a rough list of gods, wizardly orders, useful languages, and other things I know my players will ask about during character creation. I work with my players to create characters that fit my theme, and that will be lots of fun for them to play. I go back to the work I've done and flesh it out a bit more, utilizing the player's choices in class, race, and background. I run the first session that has lots of clues about things the big bad's agents are doing. I watch how the players react to those clues. I ask them at the end of the first adventure which they want to follow up on. Now, if I'm feeling brave, I ask them what sounds fun about that. I be sure to build the next adventure based on their feedback or what they tell me. Once I've got a good idea of what sort of game the players want, I build a hierarchy of agents working for the antagonist. I know what their plans are and what resources they can call on. I adjust their plans as the PCs wreak havoc and destruction. I escalate things until the PCs are 10th level or so, at which point they're probably going to be mano a mano with the antagonist. So that's how I do it. The key is to stay flexible, keep the world changing around, and more importantly, because of the PCs, and have fun. The really critical thing to understand is good for what? Seriously, how is this supposed to be answered without knowing more? You see, if the DM spent 6 months laboriously constructing a rich, nuanced political landscape with competing nations, factions within, and multinational non-government organizations like guilds, but the players just want to kick in doors, kill orcs, and swim in pools of fat loot, no one is going to be happy. And if another DM just finished a 20-level dungeon featuring its own ecology and wandering monsters for each section of each level, but the players are budding method actors and are super interested in complex social interactions and machinations, no one is going to be happy. Are you seeing a trend here? The best campaign is the one in which the GM and players are all on the same page about the experience they want when spending time together. So here are the questions whose answers I think are critical in making sure everyone's on the same page. What kinds of stories do the players want to tell? More than anyone else, a campaign is your player's story. Understand this, own it, and figure it out from there. Your role is reactive. You cannot anticipate what the PCs will do, but understanding what they want to do will help you considerably in this respect. So, ask them. Do they want a more lighthearted game or a more immersive experience? Do they like constant battles? Or do they prefer the combat serves a climactic event that serves a greater story purpose? What's their level of interest in puzzles, politics, or social interactions? In some groups, a certain amount of adult content may be interesting. In others, well, it's completely out of the question. Ooh, how do they feel about horror? Hey, I like horror now. What kinds of stories do you want to tell? If your players are giving you multiple page-long character histories, mine did when I started my D&D campaign, well, you're in luck. Character backstories are your best friend. The player has told you what and who are important to the PC. Use that to motivate them. You now know their loves, hates, and fears. I call backstories ammunition. How much time and money do you have? This question is really about how much you can invest into DMing. Money available? No time. If you can afford to purchase published content, terrific. It's almost invariably of higher quality than something you mushed together, to be honest. After all, it was written by professionals. Time available? Limited money. All right, craft your own story. The biggest advantage here is that no published setting or adventure can replace the one thing you know better than anyone else: what the players want. You can lovingly craft a great overarching plot and tie the PCs via their backstories into the tale. Tie in their key themes. Be utterly unafraid to wholesale rip off TV shows, other games, or films. Presented with a different candy coating, your players likely won't recognize it until it's over. I've already ripped off Romeo and Juliet, Babylon 5, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and The Lord of the Rings in a previous campaign. Neither time nor money, though. DMing is not the right path for you. There are a ton of free adventures online or available for a nominal fee. Read those, get to know them, know how to adapt them to your group. Preparation is everything. That is a given, but for me, a great campaign is simply one that meets or hopefully exceeds the expectations of the people at the table. To achieve this as a DM, you need to know what those expectations are and plan accordingly. Do your players want heavy roleplay? Well, you'll need the lore of the world down pat and a list of NPC names for people they meet. My party wants to know the name of everyone they meet, even if they don't have one, because they're just a background character with no dialogue. Hey, that sounds a lot like my dad. Also, taverns, as the fantasy name generator is plain bad at these, and no one wants their party to be stuck drinking in the Flogged Slug. Real suggestion, thanks, fantasy name generator. Do they want a hack and slash adventure full of combat? Have a random encounter table set up, and know the stat blocks for enemies they are likely to encounter. Basically, meet your players beforehand, discuss what you all want from this, and make sure they know what to expect and what you expect from them. It's also good to let them know in advance if you're using variant rules like flanking, variant encumbrance, etc., or have significantly changed the lore of the world. I had a GM run a zero magic campaign and only told me after I rolled up a wizard, as these can affect the choices they might make in character creation. Also, this is important, though this is by no means a comprehensive guide. Police your magic items. I've seen games ruined by an overeager to please GM tossing out +2 magic gear like it was candy. This will unbalance your game if you don't keep an eye on it. Watch your action economy. It seems totally sensible to roll up encounters based on CR alone, but if your 4-strong, level 7 party walks into a fight with a bronze dragon CR 8, they will annihilate it in 2 to 3 rounds. It seems a fair encounter level based on the CR, but you need to consider what happens on a per-turn basis, specifically how many actions each side gets. The dragon is a 3x multi-attack, yeah, but your party has, assuming say fighter, wizard, cleric, rogue, 2 from your fighter, 3 if she's dual-wielding, sneak attack from the rogue, healing from the cleric, and a spell tossed in for good measure by the wizard. Plus bonus actions, we're not also talking about inspiration too. Seems a little bit less balanced now, right? So maybe your dragon has a small gang of kobolds with it? They're low CR, easy to kill, but dangerous in a group, especially if your players ignore them to fight the dragon. Pack tactics are a pain in the ass in 5th edition. And now, your action economy is better balanced. Hope this helps someone, but I cannot stress this enough. If you only take away one thing from this answer, let it be the tavern thing. Don't randomly generate names, prep them in advance. No one should be forced to meet an informant in a tavern called, and this actually came up in a game I played, The Whipped Clam. Hey, look, I'm going to take this challenge quite literally. The Flogged Slug came about because a great ancestor of the tavern owner actually beat a gigantic slug to death by flogging it with rock salt attached to a maul. There we go. And the Whipped Clam? Well, a sea dog came in from harbor one day and said, "I wish to make a tavern, ye whipped clam." And the reason he called it the whipped clam is because he cracked the whip on his ship one time, and just as he did it to try to prove a point, a giant clam came up and got cracked clean in half, giving him the greatest treasure of all, a good story and a lovely pearl to start his brand new watery tavern. There you go, I gave you 2 ideas for free. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, checking in after the vid. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you too can get notified whenever we post a brand new video. And of course, leave a comment down below letting us know a little bit of your advice, your tippy whippies as it were, for the new generation, or just some advice for the old generation too. All the love, we'll see you next time. Bye for now.